Prisons haven't been around as long as you may think, at least not in the way that we define them today. One of the first public buildings established stemmed from the Britain's need to create a space of detention. Early prisons were not grounded on the concept of punishment, but for reform. Prisons were known as the debtor's prison because it was meant to regulate the empire's credit and debt. The prisons were meant to function as a ritual space that would protect the prisoners from economic regulation of their day-to-day lives. And so if the creditors were unable to gain their financial means, they would look to substitute it by seizing bodies. The prisons in Victorian England held all sorts of people, from debtors and minors to murderers. Of course, those who suffered the most were people of lower class. Oftentimes, prisons were filled with non-violent, low-level offenders. Common law and criminal procedure was widely admired in Europe, and given the fact that it was the first nation to industrialize it, created a rapid change in its economy and therefore its society. This rapid transformation was reflected in the criminal law and criminal behavior, both separate and within relation to one another. Essentially, what was created was not better law enforcement, but rather a better criminal, because the requirement of criminality was so broad. Prisons coexist with capitalism, and in the end, any group that posed a threat to the economy could potentially find themselves in prison. According to the census of 1871, for every 1,000 male inmates, there were 1,182 female inmates. In the 18th and 19th centuries, women were convicted of crime more so when they found themselves in low socioeconomic background. Women of the lower class found themselves convicted of lesser crimes such as theft and domestic housebreaking. Victorian justice records show how harsh punishments were given to female criminals, and you be the judge of their so-called crime. An example would be Mary McDonald, prisoner 2424-1873.
Name, number, Mary McDonald 2424. Description, age, 40, height, 5'2", hair, gray, eyes, blue, complexion, pale. Where born, Ireland. Married or single, single. Trade or occupation, laundress. Distinguishing marks, scars, both eyebrows, broken nose, scar, upper lip. Address at time of apprehension, no settled home. Place and date of conviction, Southwark 13 March 73. Offense for which convicted, simple larceny, stealing a pair of boots. Sentence, 3 calendar months, hard labor. Date to be liberated, 12 June 73. Intended residence after liberation, 12 Mint, St. Borough Street. Previous convictions, summary, 14 September 68. Pawning a shell, 1 calendar month, Greenwich. 3 August 69. Stealing a jacket, 6 calendar months. By jury.
There was a clear difference between male and female prisons. While male prisons focused on the discipline and the body, female prisons focused on reforming the spirit and mindset. Women criminals were judged against a highly artificial notion of the ideal woman. And because of this, women's crimes broke not only criminal law, but they were seen as acts of deviance from the norm of femininity. Grant Allen speaks on the expectations of women in plain words on the woman question, and it reads,
"Let us look briefly at the needful conditions under which alone the human race can go on reproducing itself. If every woman married and every woman had 4 children, population will remain just stationary. In Britain, at the present day, I believe I am right in deducing that an average of about 6 children per marriage is necessary in order to keep the population just stationary. Indeed, so far I am wishing to keep her in subjugation to man, that I should like to see her a great deal more emancipated than see herself as yet all she desires. Only her emancipation must not be of a sort that interferes in any way with this prime natural necessity."
Prisons focused on the restoring female inmates to the ideal of that norm of femininity. Female offenders were assessed as mad and not bad, based on the widely accepted belief that women prisoners are mentally disturbed or inadequate. Defining women as the morally superior of the two sexes makes them the guardian of morality and social cohesion. Interestingly enough, was that women became the focus concern of criminality based on the reasoning that by biological default, they either birthed or raised the criminals and degenerates. Prison was the main form of punishment in the 19th century England. In the case of the new Victorian woman, we can argue that prisons were used by the elite groups to isolate the criminal class and shape them into a workforce. Women's workforce was homemaking and childbearing. Unconventional ideas and actions were reasons to be labeled mentally ill, and the rising new Victorian woman sure was unconventional. Insanity was classified as any behavior that was outside of the accepted social norms of middle-class society. Female inmates were seen as patients who were to be cured of their mental illness, and they needed to be prepared for a transition back into society. If they trained the female inmates for the domestic roles they were meant for, such as wife, mother, and devoted sister, then it was believed to bring a sense of purpose and improve their quality of life. Female inmates performed gender-appropriate duties, some of which were cooking, cleaning, and sewing. Hours would range from 14 to 16 hours per day. Two of the most popular punishments for women would be prison laundry or sewing while confined to their cells. Their uniforms further enforced their gender-specific discipline. As public institutions, prisons faced intense public observation and scrutiny, which gave prisons much more pressure to produce good results, also known as domesticated female inmates. If you were a woman during this time and you were not pure, meaning a mother, a wife, and a keeper of home, then you could have been classified as insane. Insane, mad, ill, and hysterical were often used to describe female inmates. The compelling portraits of the following women were taken by Victorian photographer Henry Herring in the mid-19th century. The women found themselves labeled insane.
Emma Riches, diagnosis, insanity caused by childbirth. Eliza Jocelyn, diagnosis, insanity caused by overwork. Sarah Gardner, diagnosis, insanity caused by anxiety. Elizabeth Yu, diagnosis, epilepsy.
A popular Victorian idea was that the female reproductive organs were connected to emotional and physical well-being, and so they often viewed female organs as the reasons for insanity. And although the punishment of the female inmates were grounded on morality, there were physical treatments to treat for moral issues, which consisted of unwanted surgeries, gynecological surgery, and lobotomies. Gynecological surgery, surgery performed on the female reproductive system, was a regular procedure at this time. Lobotomies was the process of removing or damaging a small portion of the frontal lobe in order to trigger a change in erratic, irregular behavior by those who were labeled as insane. Because such surgeries were often unwarranted by the inmates, restraints were needed. Straitjackets, leather mitts, muffs, and wristlets were restraints used on patients and feared that they were liable to strike others or destroy property. Some patients refused to eat, and they too were restrained in order to insert feeding tubes, because proper nutrition was seen as a key component of moral therapy. There were also other restraint treatments which confined patients to their beds. There are some accounts of inmates' letters can be found in the archive. The following pieces have no author.
I don't know why they should keep me here any longer. It was a plot. To Dr. Lancaster, Dear Sir, having been confined and kept in this place, and not knowing exactly what has happened, I thought I might get some information from you, as I have good reason to believe that you and other physicians know all about it, what some persons intend to gain by keeping me here. I don't know. I don't think those persons that have put me here have derived any great benefit from it. I do wish you would do something for me, if it is in your power to do something that was intended for to happen to me, and really accused I have been transferred from one place to another, and I don't know why they should keep me here any longer. It was a plot. I believe to put me into this place, and hoping you will do something for me, as you know I got received medicine from you. I don't know whether it was supposed to or intended for a more serious affair. They said I was insane, and I don't know if I was, or no, I feel pretty well, considering what has happened to me. I don't know if myself or money that they wanted, as you have my name in your book. You will not forget my name, W.M. Hoping you will excuse my grammar, hoping you will not forget to come and visit me, as I have no other way of getting out of this place, except by your assistance.
I am detained here in prison. London, July 27, 1879. To EIP, Barrister. I am detained here in prison by Dr. Buck and Dr. Anderson. I wish you would issue a writ of habeas corpus for my liberty this forenoon. Little your Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
In the last quarter of the 19th century, society lost confidence in the spirit of humanity, the inherent responsibility of individuals. Crime was ascribed to mental or physical deficiency. For males, it meant physical deficiency. For females, it meant mental or moral deficiency. A woman's body is her economy. It's her source of societal contribution, whether it's for labor or childbirth. If she is not sacrificing herself for the greater good of the empire, then she serves no purpose. During this time, women, whether they claimed to be a new Victorian woman or not, had to meet societal expectations. If they failed to do so, they created chaos within the empire. The label, New Victorian Woman, restricts us from seeing imprisonment of women all over, whether they were confined to their home or prison cell. While studying the New Victorian Woman, how often did you think about the women who did not claim the title and yet challenged society just as much?